When you're designing for e-learning, there are a million small decisions that can impact the overall effectiveness of your project. Font may seem like something that's pretty straightforward, but there are some easy choices you can make to help make your media more accessible for everyone. In this video, we're going to define key terms, explain why font selection matters, and identify key considerations in font selection. Key terms include accessibility, ADA, serif, and sans serif. At its core, accessibility is simply the ability to access something. In this case, that access includes information and communication technologies. ADA stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act. This legislation was passed in 1990 and prohibits discrimination and guarantees that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else to participate in the mainstream of American life, to enjoy employment opportunities, to purchase goods and services, and to participate in state and local government programs and services. Most fonts can be broken into two main categories, serif and sans serif. Serif fonts have an additional adornment or flourish at the ends of letters. Sans serif tends to be a bit simpler. There's no extra adornment at the end. Sans literally means without in French, so you can think of it in that way. Why is font accessibility important? Font accessibility is related to the legal considerations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It provides legal protections for people with disabilities in all areas of life, including education. It protects people from discrimination, and the goal is generally to make all spaces, including digital spaces, accessible for all. But the great thing about the ADA is that using their guidelines and making intentional design choices can make the material easier to read and better for everyone, not just those with disabilities. What makes a font accessible? Earlier, we spoke about the differences between serif and sans serif fonts. Typically, sans serif is going to be considered the most accessible category of fonts. The ADA doesn't provide a list of specific fonts that they recommend. However, these are some that are considered generally accessible. A key consideration of font selection is whether or not something's easy to read. A few other considerations include size. While there's not a lot of specific guidance, the priority should be readability. In terms of color, it's best to avoid reds and greens as those can be difficult for those with vision impairment, like color blindness. In general, it's best to have a high contrast between your font and your background color. Try to limit the number of different fonts that you use. Some style changes, such as highlighting words in bold or italic, may not translate well for someone using a screen reader. I'll leave you with this final thought. In general, if it's easier for someone with a visual impairment to read, then it's easier for everyone to read.